Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, deadline day is done. We're past it. I can't lie. I thought when we recorded the other day, that was deadline day. And that's really bad from me considering I should know when deadline day is. Nevertheless, the window's shut. Sheffield United, we've got all that to come. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good considering how it looked at the start of the window. Dare I say it was quite a busy end. We had a whole lot of ingoings, outgoings, a lot of surprises along the way as well. I mean, aside from Morgan Rogers, Nedeljkovic, Gauci, Lino Sousa as well. Obviously, we didn't speak about, but so we can get a word in on him today. Ended up being quite a busy window, and then there's a lot of outgoings as well. There was a lot of rumours on the deadline day, some outgoings that happened, some outgoings that didn't happen, some ones that maybe even went under the radar. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour in the end, mate, because we've got a whole lot to go through.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. There's plenty to discuss. And I think maybe we start with Lino Sousa because this is a transfer that actually got announced by Plymouth Argyle before it did. But, I mean, have we even announced the transfer? I don't think we have we?
All we did was wish him luck. There was no welcome to us. It was like, oh, have a good time at Plymouth.
Welcome,
so
I guess.
We have signed him. Yes. Yeah. Welcome. We have signed him from Arsenal, or ex-Arsenal left back. He's gone to Plymouth on loan from the Villa. It looks like we've been a little bit clever with this, and it looks like the reason why there was no fanfare on social is because we brought him in as an academy signing.
Yeah.
Which it seems, and maybe there's someone in the comments that an accountant, someone that knows FFP a lot better than I do. It seems that bypasses a lot of the rules and regs that govern profit and sustainability rules. So maybe quite a savvy move there from the Villa.
Absolutely. I think it falls under something like infrastructure and something like that, which basically means that you can sort of write all of it off. Again, I'm sure there's people in the comments that know and can provide a much better description of that. But I do find that quite interesting. Transfermarkt have it down as around 2 million euros, so not really a lot of money at all. And it's quite funny, mate, because with this signing specifically, if this signing doesn't sum up Aston Villa's youth system, mate, then I don't really know what does, because this has now got to be the fourth time, I think, in recent times we've sent a player out on loan to Plymouth Argyle. Two of those occasions, I believe, were the same player with Kane Kessler-Hayden. But Sousa has actually come from, he was from Arsenal, that's where we signed him. But I'm sure you're aware, mate, Sousa was signed to Arsenal by West Brom, which is just crazy. So let's just, for you guys who like to visualize this, you're visual learners, that's how you take things in. I'm just imagining this Venn diagram when we've got West Brom at the top. We've got a 16-year-old lad, or girl, whatever. We've not necessarily seen it with the women's side, but maybe it's something we should consider. 16-year-old lad at West Brom. Villa signs him when his contract's about to expire or when they're performing well. And then there's two ways it goes, mate. There's two ways. You either loan them to Plymouth Argyle or you loan them to Middlesbrough. This is the new formula, mate, isn't it?
Yeah. That's exactly right, mate. That's exactly right. Basically our transfer strategy is we just go through the phone books of different guys at Bodymore. We just get Mark Harrison on the blower and we're like, right, mate, go on, dive into the contacts. Who have you got for us this time? And out pops Lino Sousa. Nevertheless, I'm very excited to have him. He's a very exciting player. It looks like a championship loan is about par for him at the time. He's an England under-19 left back. He's made a lot of appearances, mainly for Arsenal's under-23 in the last couple of seasons. So he's been on the bench for FA Cup games, Carabao Cup games, some Champions League games. Ian Foster, the Plymouth boss, has spoken very highly of him. Ashley Phillips, who's on loan at Plymouth, has played with Sousa in the England unders as well. So there's a nice bit of chemistry there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's nice that given that it seemed like Kane Kessler-Hayden was very excited to stay at Plymouth. He seemed, Ian Foster said that he was maybe even a little bit upset to be leaving the South Coast to come back to Villa. It's nice that we've been able to hook them up and make their squad whole again later on in the window.
Yeah, I think they need it as well. Plymouth are in a really difficult place, and I mean they're going to need all the help they can get there. And we've taken one fullback off them from the one side and given one on the other. But I've sort of seen from a few Arsenal fans that have sort of maybe watched the unders a little bit closer than anyone else, actually seem quite good about this, mate. And I think there was, dare I say it, not in the immediate future, but there was certainly a hope that within the next 2, maybe 3 years, that this is somebody who starts ahead of a Zinchenko. I think when you look at Arsenal's fullback options over the years, they've not been brilliant on either side. You've had Cedric filling on both sides. You've had Tomiyasu filling on both sides. Zinchenko, as of the past season and a half, really, that's where he's been playing when he's fit. But it's interesting. It's interesting. People thought that this guy generally had a future at Arsenal. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to grade all of the transfers from the January window. So I'm going to go ahead, mate, and maybe this is hasty because I haven't seen him kick a ball yet, and obviously we've sent him out on loan to Plymouth, and that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But I like the deal, so I'm going to give this one a B.
Yeah, I was going to come in about the same, a C, a B. It's one that I think will definitely pay dividends in the future. The West Brom cohort of Villa is just huge. I have to shout out Matt Lynch, who put a list together. So obviously Morgan Rogers, 2 of the 3 players that Villa signed on deadline day were ex-West Brom Academy players. We've got Tim Irabunam now, Lino Sousa, Chisholm Afoka, Rico Richards, Louis Barry, Luca Lynch, Tristan Rowe, and Jamal Jamo, all in the Villa setup previously of the Baggies. So it's nice to know, boys. It's like they're getting the band back together, guys. This is a reunion just for the vibes. I'm here for it.
I'm here for it, mate. I'm here for it, absolutely. And I think Nedeljkovic is an interesting signing, mate, as well. I know we've sort of spoken about that a few times, and I think, even probably, my frustrations from the last post-match game, specifically with Matty Cash, I'll tell you, and you guys know as well that, I think it's fairly standard that with the general consensus, we need a right back. So do I think Kosta Nedeljkovic is going to be the answer straight away? I don't think so, no. But the more I see and the more I read, it really intrigues me. And you actually pointed out, mate, when we did the initial transfer of Rumour Mill, I think it may have been, that he's actually played in the right of a 3 as well for Red Star Belgrade at times this season. So, he's a young player. He's got experience at a relatively high level, playing for a massive club in Red Star, who on a semi-frequent basis make it to the group stages of the Champions League. You guys would have seen his sort of battles with Jack Grealish in the Champions League as well, if you paid attention. He's a young mind, and I think like that sort of flexibility, adaptability, he can play, as we said, on the right of a 3, wing back, full back. It's exciting, and I think this one's going to be hard to grade. I'd probably put it around a B and a C as well. It's going to be interesting to see not only how he develops specifically at Villa, but what this means for Matty Cash, what this means for Ezri Konsa, what this means for Kane Kesler-Hayden.
Yeah, he's the youngest of all of our transfer deals at just 18 years old. Lino Sousa is 19, Morgan Rogers 21, and Joe Gauci 23. So he's by far and away the youngest of that 4. The only thing that's annoying about this transfer is we don't get to see him for 6 months.
Right.
And I dare say that there's definitely, obviously I know we've got the aforementioned Kane Kesler-Hayden coming in and filling that gap, but there's a definite spot for him in that team, I think. I think we definitely need some cover at right back. And I'm not saying that I want to go ahead and throw an 18-year-old into that backup role like straight away, considering that he could end up playing quite a lot of football for him if there's any injuries or anything like that. But it's only really kind of the same situation as Kane Kesler-Hayden. And so that's the only bugbear with this. And I think I probably have to bump it down to a C on that alone, purely based on that's nothing to do with the deal whatsoever, just that we're not going to get to see him until July, August at the earliest.
Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. I think that's fair. And, like as weird as it sounds, like it'll be like a new signing in the summer. Like it literally is a new signing, but we're obviously going to see this, going to be integrated in pre-season. And you'd imagine as well, like as soon as the season ends, he'll have his couple of weeks away, get his move over to the Midlands sorted, start, bedding in the area, getting used to all that kind of stuff, meet his teammates, and hopefully he can cook, mate. Hopefully he can cook. And it's the same with Joe Gauci really as well. Like again, can't claim to know a whole bunch about this guy. You guys would have sort of seen our announcement. I am excited about this, and there was a few comments. There was even a comment, I can't remember who said it, but shout out to the person in the comments on that announcement who said that Joe Gauci was his cousin. So, like, if you've got any insight and information, like, let us know. But keepers are a weird one, aren't they, mate? Because, as we kind of said on the announcement, this is an area where we don't really seem to sort of nail, and I don't know, I have no doubts that long term this deal could pay off, but I don't know. It's just it's one of them, isn't it, mate? And kind of, I think today in the sort of early hours, it looks like South Korea advanced in the Asia Cup against Australia. Joe Gauci was on the bench, didn't come on. They started with Matt Ryan in at the Socceroos. So I imagine he's sort of packing his bags and getting ready to move out now, mate. And hopefully, I mean, I can't imagine we necessarily see him this season, but maybe this is like a pre-season thing. So again, this is another hard one to grade, isn't it?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and I think it kind of depends on where he falls in the pecking order. So there's reports coming out of Australia that our plan is to make him Villa's backup goalkeeper. But we've seen a fair few goalkeepers used in the matchday squad by Villa this season, sometimes just to make up the numbers. And it's interesting that if that is genuinely our plan, that we want to make him our backup goalkeeper, that we didn't look to get Robin Olsen off the books this January, because Joe Gauci's wages, you would imagine, will be nowhere near that of Robin Olsen, who has played for kind of very established clubs all across Europe, and so you imagine will command a much higher kind of weekly wage. What I really like about this deal, and where I'm potentially maybe slightly hotter is the wrong word, but I really like that we've been proactive here. I think when you look at, obviously I've never seen this kid play, and we've only seen the kind of same highlights as everybody, but it either by very little is down to coincidence. And you look at the way that he excels in one-on-one situations. He's clearly got a nous for saving penalties. There's clearly a bit of I don't know if arrogance is the right word, but he's a very confident goalkeeper. He seems to be a real character. He, personality-wise, as well as in what his kind of standout traits are, he looks very similar to Emmy, and I think that can only be a good thing. He's only 23, which is very, very young, and so I like the contingency planning. I like that we have to recognise that both Olsen and Martinez are now well into their 30s, and whilst you've definitely got plenty more to come from Emmy Martinez, it's nice to know that he has a true understudy. I like that we'd addressed that so early, and I think someone like Joe Gauci is the perfect kind of profile of goalkeeper that we want one. The only thing that might mark this transfer down is that it doesn't look like he was our main target.
Yeah.
We spoke earlier on in the window about, some different goalkeepers and stuff like that ended up going to Brentford. And so Valdemarson, sorry. So it doesn't look like he was our main target. But I'm not going to hold that against Joe Gauci. Obviously when you're shopping in that kind of market for keepers, there's nip and tuck between the different profiles, you'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a C, really, isn't it, mate? I think we can really call this.
I'd agree.
I think that's fair to, for all the reasons that you and I have both just listed. Morgan Rogers as well. Now, I'm really excited about this one. I'm really excited about this. Do not get me twisted, guys. I think Middlesbrough have got quite a good deal. I think they've probably got the better deal. I think there's still an element of risk with, this signing. I was speaking to a Middlesbrough fan who I work with today, and he's like, he spent the past 2 weeks going, please, for the love of God, do not buy Morgan Rogers. But I think he's sort of come to his senses today and gone, well, actually, £15 million for a sort of attacking player who has only scored 2 championship goals this season is almost, you would be foolish to turn that down if you were Middlesbrough. And, life will go on for them and they will find a replacement. And I think 15 million now, you kind of see them fees a little bit more frequently in the championship now. But for somebody with the upside that Rodgers seems to have, maybe we look back at this on in a year's time and go, actually, I think we've probably pulled Middlesbrough's pants down a little bit. But until he's kind of pulled on that famous number 27 donned by Ahmed El Mohammadi, and we can see what he can do on the pitch at Villa Park, I think, again, I'm kind of leaning towards a C here. I'm really excited about this. Don't get it twisted, but I think when you pay that much for somebody who is as unproven, I think it's only fair to grade it at a C.
Yeah. I think, I mentioned in the announcement, I think we've paid perhaps a little bit more than we initially bargained for. I mean, City bought him for, I think, 4 million, which, according to the Athletic, they've adjusted in the current market would be just over 5 when he was just out of school. That's a massive fee. And so
registered his GCSEs.
Literally, like, fresh out the exam hall onto City's training ground, like 5 million's a lot of money. And so you can see why our initial bid was turned down. I mean, we have to mark him down because he's a massive Baggies fan. Yeah, and realise this. And so I can't give you an A purely on the fact there's a really good piece on The Athletic, Jacob Tanswell and Steve Madliv, that are kind of deep dived into Morgan Rogers. Anyone who's got The Athletic, I'd really advise watching it. It talks about how he was watched by Pep and Mikel Arteta when he was just 16 in an FA Youth Cup semi-final between Man City and West Brom, and it was from that game that they went on, signed him 4 months after he played at the City Academy ground for West Brom. He was then a Manchester City player for big money. A lot of City scouts were really impressed with him, and it kind of does a deep dive. But, obviously it's fair to say that he's had a fair few loans at Blackpool, loans at Bournemouth. There's a couple of other clubs, I believe. 2 championship goals this season. He is the top scorer in the Carabao Cup, so there has been more goal scoring season, more goal scoring for him generally than there has been in the league season. But yeah, I think it's a pretty hefty fee. There's a pretty hefty fee, and I think one that it's not exactly what you'd call a snip. It definitely stands out from the rest of our other business, and I'm not going to use that against him, but he is the biggest name in this window, and I think particularly when we're starting to see Villa maybe stutter in front of goal. Maybe Moussa Diaby's not in the form that he once was. I know, obviously, Leon Bailey's going to be coming for that shirt. But you imagine that Morgan Rogers is going to play quite a few minutes towards the end of this season. He's definitely going to be, you imagine, on the bench this weekend, which will be exciting in its own. But there's definitely some more pressure to this side than there is with any of the others. So, yeah, I think I'm not going to get too ahead of myself and start calling this an A. I'd probably give it a B because I think he's a really good profile. He's 6'4". He looks physically up to the test, so I like that side of it. But it's a big fee, and I think it's quite a big role in this squad, particularly now that Bertrand Traoré is left, that he might end up filling.
Absolutely, mate, and that does lead us nicely on to the departures. And man, it's a sad day, man. Bertrand Traoré leaving the club, terminated his deal. He's joined Villarreal on a 6-month contract, I believe. I'm really sad about this. Like, on a personal level, I really liked Bertie. I really liked him. And, I'm sure you can go back on the channel and there's literally thousands of minutes of clips of me going, he doesn't track back, he doesn't do this. But he'll always have a place in my heart, man. The guy does not score tap-ins, he only scores screamers. And I think he's somebody who was just very hard done by with in terms of injuries and then like managerial changes as well. And it kind of felt like the moment Dean Smith left the club, that was really the end of Bertrand Traoré at Aston Villa. And I mean, he's contributed since, like, let's not get it twisted. I think, that late goal at Leicester will sort of stay in everyone's minds from last season, which, that felt like a really big goal at the time. So I'm absolutely devastated he's leaving, but I do think he'll suit La Liga quite well, mate. And I'm sure Unai Emery has sort of given him the sort of rundown on what to expect for life at Villarreal.
Yeah, he joins a side which definitely need his help. Villarreal are having a really bad season. They're 14th in La Liga and will have to put together some incredible run with 16 games to go to put themselves back in European contention. You imagine that there won't be any European football next season at Villarreal, which is quite a significant dent to their plans. But for Bertie, he just needed to get out of the club. He's a better player than that he's currently being allowed to demonstrate at Villa. But, we both said that late goal at Leicester, and then he followed it up with the winning goal against Forest at home. And we both kind of said after that if that's his swan song, then he can leave with his head held high. And whilst, we've almost come 12 months since those moments, they are really, really underrated moments. And I think what's really nice about the club is that you look at the kind of big achievements that we've had over recent seasons, getting promoted, staying in the Premier League, getting into Europe. There have been these unsung heroes, and it kind of felt, you look at the run through promotion and then COVID, lockdown, and back post Trez. Yeah. And, how when Trezeguet left, it was, he could really do so as a bit of a kind of cult hero. And whilst I do think Bertie's quite on those heights, it's genuinely not far away. He did some really important things for the club last season, considering that we recalled him from a loan as well, which I think is forgotten. He was kind of yanked back from a loan at Turkey, thrust back into a squad which he probably never thought he'd get to play in again, and then contributed with some massive, massive moments. And I think agreeing to terminate his deal, he definitely won't be earning as much in Spain as he is in the Premier League. So he's taken a wage cut for the benefit of the club. We've seen plenty of footballers in and around Europe say, no, I'm quite happy on the wages I am. Thank you very much. I'll see out my contract and then move on. He's agreed to terminate his deal early, and I don't think you can, necessarily take that for granted. So yes, a tip of my cap to you, Bertrand Traore.
Absolutely. I think we've got to give, in terms of grading, mate, I think we have to give this one a B. I think it's a good move for him, as you say, one off the wage bill as well. And I mean, there's going to be a very big sort of Traore-shaped hole in my heart. I hope he tears it up, man. I hope he tears it up. I know you've already reordered a Traore shirt. Yes. I know that's already on its way to your flat right now. And I don't blame you, because that's great. And yeah, I mean, in terms of like other outgoings, it was only, I mean, obviously we've got the sort of the loans that we spoke about earlier with Nedeljkovic and Sousa, but Dendoncker to Napoli, something that again we've both sort of spoken about being a really bizarre transfer. But I do really think that the league suits Dendoncker's strengths really well. I think it's a lot slower. There is a bit of a physical element. And given the sort of variation of you either play, a sort of a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, I think he'll thrive in whatever position in sort of midfield or defence, won't he, mate?
Yeah. No, I think that's a good move. I think kind of similar to Bertie, and I'm happy that those boys have gone to find good clubs as well. Yeah, both of them have gone to really, really big clubs across Europe. We've not had to thrust them off to Turkey or somewhere like that, but both of them have gone to really established European sides. I know Bertie's got a bit of a job, but could well be with back on the European scene. I mean, you imagine that Dendoncker will, in some capacity, definitely be playing European football next season. I think that's great. I think they've both gone to leagues that really suit their playing styles. And so, yeah, I'm very happy that for both of them that they've gone on and they've not had to suffer a huge drop up in terms of the standard that they'll be playing out next season.
Yeah, I think I'd grade this one a C, purely on the basis that I think it does leave us a little bit light, but there's clearly more to play here, or more at play, in terms of wages and money and all of that the club are clearly coming at from a financial perspective. So I've liked my C's. I think I've almost graded everyone a C.
To be fair, I think I'll give Traore an A. I think I'll give that to an A. I think just because of the financial value of that deal, cutting it short, he was leaving on a free in the summer,
right?
And so we've avoided basically paying 6 months worth of wages, and he's gone on to play for a good club. So I think that in terms of it's benefiting all parties, I think that's probably the best business that we've done this January. Crazily enough. I mean, if I'm Leander Dendoncker, that deal's an A+ for me personally. You traded Birmingham for the Bay of Naples. I mean, you've done really well.
He's leveled up in life. He's leveled up in life. That's definitely correct. That is definitely correct. Guys, you'll have to let us know your ratings, your gradings in the comment section down below.